Okie dokie dokie. Alright, hello everybody. Just gonna go live on Facebook quickly. And we're live. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's just get back to this. Every time I go live it throws me for a ball. Trying to find the switch screens, the transition screens on this new how's it everybody? Good evening, good day, hello. What's happening? My name's Dr. Weeze. Welcome to my channel. So let's quickly have a recap of what's been going on at the moment. If you are not aware, GOC 2018, that's the Galax Overclocking Carnival. The online qualifiers are live at the moment. There's officially 16 days, 22 hours and 2 minutes remaining in the qualifiers. So to date there has been quite a lot of preparation going on behind the scenes. Nobody's uploaded scores yet, so it's still a virgin scoreboard. But today I am going to be looking at the second part of my preparation to everything. In the last stream I looked at the RTX 280 Ti, and I unfortunately had to cut that one short because I had some complications in life. You know, having two kids has really changed my schedule, and you've just got to do things as quick as you can and get them in, get them out. Let's stop rambling about that. So today I'm going to be carrying on with my whole preparation story, and that involves this guy here. That's the 4600 megahertz memory from Galax that you are required to use for this competition. I did show you last time. It comes in this really pretty little case. Right, and you get two sticks in there. It's 4600 megahertz. Geez, what was C18? I think it was. C19. Right, so nice set of memory. Do they fly or not? Well, that's another question. I think we're going to have to wait for people to start submitting their scores to see that. I think there are some complications with compatibilities on some of the biases because we're using the Z170, 270, 370. It's essentially now end-of-life products, so maybe there is not as much support for this revision of memory that you would expect with maybe the Z390. So I can tell you that I have already stripped one of the modules. I'm going to strip the other one on the stream. So I have already stripped one of the modules. There is basically the bare module. Without me trying to find focus here, I won't be able to look nicely. It is a BDAR based memory, and it's the A2 revision of the PCB. So that's I think it is the RGB PCB, but there's no RGB on these sticks. Right, so let's just have a quick look. Hey guys, and normal guys tuning in, nice to see you all again. Yeah, that PCB, yeah, damn right, you know, it's a bit frustrating, but anyway, let's not get too involved about that. I was actually thinking about this PCB. I thought I'd seen it somewhere before, and I looked at the ZDAC memory that we got like 2 years ago, and it didn't really do the same. But then I found this kit of Apacer memory, right? It's a very similar PCB revision as this Apacer 4 gig memory. So I think it's not the newest of PCBs, but you know, that Apacer is a load of rot. It's basically what I use for some of my cheaper builds. But anyway, let's not get into that too much. Right, so let's switch the views. First thing we're going to do is have a quick squiz at what is entailed, or what you need to do in order to get this all done. So let's just move over to the top-down view so you guys can see the workbench and what's going on here. So first thing, let's just have a talk quickly about what the plan is, why I'm taking off the heat spreaders. So I will be using here in the lab, I'll be using the EKWeb SF3D copper heat spreaders. Right, so the reason for this is because I'll need to run through a whole battery of tests to see, does this BDAR memory, this revision of the PCB, does it actually scale with any cold? Can I get more clocks with cold? And then obviously for maximum frequency, you're going to need the cold. Typically speaking, to max out your frequency, you need to just go cold on the memory. So that's the main reason there. So with installing that in the lab, I use the copper ones from the EKWeb, but when I travel, I'll use just the normal aluminium ones. And the only reason for that is because weight restrictions when traveling to competitions, it's a bit of a pain. So what I want to demonstrate to you quickly as well before I sit down with the hairdryer and get that heat spreader off is what I like to do when installing the memory is just use a bit of the blue shop tile and 2 layers of blue shop tile on the back side of the PCB. Helps to just keep everything nice and snug with the SF3D copper module. So that's just something that's like my pro tip for the day or whatever you want to use. So anyway, so it looks like the Team 3200 C14s have the same PCB. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating. I'm very surprised after doing a lot of investigations and asking people and reading up that there is, as you say, lots of non-RGB memory with that same PCB, and I find it very strange that there's so little support, so little compatibility in the XOC biases for this particular RAM or that particular PCB layout. Anyway, I'm not going to complain too much about that. I don't think it's going to be a major problem for the competition as long as no single vendor fixes the compatibility issue, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are saying it's really bad memory. I don't think it's really bad memory. I think it, honestly to God, I think it's a compatibility issue, and there's just like a little setting missing in the BIOS or something like that missing in the BIOS that's you can't set manually, because I've been through all the different settings trying to figure out if there's maybe something that's set to auto that needs to be hard coded, and I couldn't find anything. So maybe there's something that you can't set that you need to set. But anyway, let's carry on. Right, so the Hall of Fame memory modules for the last 2 revisions have been, or this year and last year, have been a similar design. So it's secured with 4 screws. It's got an adhesive sort of pad on the back of the memory module, and then just a normal thermal pad on the front of where the RCs are. So it's really quite straightforward to open up and to make them naked. You need to remove the 4 screws. You need quite a small little jeweler's Phillips head screw to do that, and yeah, we just get through them all. So just 4 of them, then we'll be able to lift the top plate. Now what I would have liked to have seen is the option to have these shipped to us, because we're going to be using them for extreme, and have them shipped to us without the heat spreader on, because it's always such a nerve-wracking thing for me to do when it comes to this time of the competition. No scores submitted. You know, you have to use this memory. You've only bought 1 kit, so if you make a boo-boo now and you actually kill the module while doing this exercise, you're going to be high and dry with nothing to compete with. It's really nerve-wracking. I hate it. I did the one off air because I wanted to just check the sort of stickiness per se of that rear tape, as well as just going through it just to make sure I don't make a complete a-hole of myself on the stream, because as I'm sure you guys are all aware, you can catch the replays of everything that I stream on YouTube or on Twitch. So if I make an arse of myself, an arse, then it's forever there. And I really don't want my children in 25 years going back and watching the replays of my benching to see what an arse I make of myself half the time. So what I've just done is I basically just screwed in the screws again onto the sides where I've taken off, so I don't lose them, because they're quite small screws. I won't be able to buy those locally. They're a bit small and delicate for South Africa's appetite for off-the-shelf products, right? Well, that's quite interesting. You say the X299 OC formula and the Maximus 8. The Maximus 8, that's Z170, so we actually can use the Z170 in this competition. I must actually give that a try. I've got quite a few of them lying around here still. On my shelf I can see I've got 3 impacts, and I've got 1 Genie, and I've got, should have an Extreme somewhere as well. So yeah, I mean, well, at least the Genie would be good enough. The Genie was the preferred, Genie and Impact was the preferred one in that generation, right? I wonder if it's worthy of testing, because we are able to use Z170, and I still do have some pretty good 6700Ks lying around, so for 32M that really could be an advantage. Thanks for that little bit of information. that could be quite helpful. Okie dokie, so let's just quickly have a quick squiz at what's going on in Facebook. Any comments there? No comments there. Thanks to everybody that's tuned in. I see I've got a few viewers there. Don't be shy to drop onto Twitch if you want to ask any questions. I do monitor that chat more than I monitor the others. Right, so we've got the memory module open. The next step now really is just going to be to heat up this heatsink in order to just soften that grip that stupid heat pad has got, that stupid adhesive pad it's got. To do that, we're just going to use a stock standard hairdryer, my normal OC hairdryer. So it's just this guy here, my Intel RGB OG hairdryer. So what I like to do is I will just get that on there. I've got a thermal probe where I will then check the temperature every now and again. And I don't know the exact temperature we need in order for this to work. It's just a trial and error type thing. So you really don't want to be forcing anything during this whole exercise. The one thing I always tell people when I give classes or workshops or demos, with everything in the PC world, you never have to force. If you're forcing it, you're going to end up breaking or bending the PCB, and yeah, the minute you start doing that, you're going to damage the traces and yeah, you're going to waste your money. So let's just check the temperature now. Very scientific, just putting the probe on top of it. So it looks like it's about 45, 47, 48, 49, 50 degrees. 58. Now, typically when it's too hot for you to handle with your fingers, is when you can start playing with it, right? So that's got a good temperature to it. So again, just using a bit of paper towel just to work it. Using plastic tools only, never use anything metal. And you can just start now trying to lift that PCB up, remembering not to force it, and if you've got sufficient temperature, you should be able to leverage it up quite easily and quite simply, just like that. Alright, so that job done. Next thing we're going to do is just remove this tape, and it comes away from the PCB fairly easily once you can get your finger under it. Alright, so we'll pop that back on, and then this can go in the box now for storage, for if I ever one day decide to use a memory again on air or to sell it, then that's where the original heat spreaders will go back on. Otherwise they'll never go back on. And that's it, really, as simple as that for that step of it. Now, so the next thing is this memory module was 70.2, so the kit that I've got is number 70, and then it's labeled DIM 1 and DIM 2. I've got a visitor at the door. My daughter wants to get in. Okay, so what I like to do is I do like to just label each one and keep a record of which is which. Alright, so simple as that. Okay, so I do have MSR, and in fact I think I've got one here. What is this? This is X270. Yeah, so I actually have one that's sitting there in a junk pile. I'll give this a try then. Z270 X Power Gaming Titanium, and it's currently got a 6700K sitting in it. So I must maybe give that a try. It's worth it, an effort. I didn't have much luck with those motherboards though. For overclocking normal BDAR, I found MSR quite frustratingly difficult to fine tune. But then when you're spoiled with ROG biases, you know, you will battle with other brands. that's just me, right? Okay, so what's next? What's next is we now need to then decide how we're now going to protect this. And I think it's going to be as straightforward as removing the sticker, which is the identification sticker, which they're obviously using, I think, well, when I say obviously, I mean I should imagine they're using during the manufacturing process or the packaging process to make sure that they're not mixing up their modules with other modules. So it's just a sticker, an identification sticker saying what its rating is and speed and all that sort of stuff, PCB. Again, there's no serial number or anything, so it's just a generic sticker. I like to. Okay, so all I did is there just apply a little bit of heat to soften glue, and I'll get these fine tip tweezers just underneath a corner and lift it off. Again, not forcing anything, so you really don't want to be scratching the PCB at this point either. So it's a little bit more stubborn than I'd like to admit. And then again, I am being exceptionally delicate because there we go. You got to watch that PCB. The traces are just everywhere here. Alright, so there we go. We've got that removed. Again, I will add it to my box because I like things to be as nicely original as possible if I do actually eventually sell it on. Typically speaking, the memory I won't sell on. I was just looking at it earlier, I've got every single Galax piece of memory that I bought for all the past 4 years worth of GOC, and that goes back to the DDR3 memory, which I used in the first one that I attended in 2004. That's quite an accomplishment for an overclocker to have hung on to so much for so long, right? So I've got a question from Nick. Does the order of the RAM DIM1, DIM2 really matter in OC? Yeah, so let me give you my take on that answer. So there has been an answer already. Okay, so let's just talk about that question because I do like being a Q&A session or interactive as possible. Let's get you a motherboard here so we can have a quick look at it, right? So I've got a board here. What have we got here? We've got the Apex, Maximus 10 Apex. So we've got DIM1, DIM A1, which is the closest to the processor. Then we've got DIM B1, which is furthest away from the processor. Now, if you take the same stick of memory and you plonk it into A1, the closest to the processor, and you push that that particular piece of that memory module to its theoretical maximum, and then you start getting like errors on A1. If you move that same DIM into B1, you'll notice that you can maybe push an extra multiplier or maybe another 50 megahertz. So that's got to do with something with the distance of the traces on the board and the board layout and all sorts of hogwash like that I don't understand. But I can tell you right now that if you are pushing your memory for 32M, and a lot of you guys watching this, maybe this will be handy for you, and I shouldn't really be sharing this information, but if you're pushing your memory for 32M, you always need to test your memory modules independently to figure out which is your strongest one, and then you always put that strongest one into the B1 on the board. And the reason for that is, it trains and it just you get stability and Bob's your uncle. Or is it the other way around? You put your weakest one into B1. I can't remember. But anyway, that's the idea. If you understand you've got a strong memory module and a weak memory module, play around with swapping those around, right? So putting your weakest one in that slot or your strongest one in that slot. B1 is your best slot for when overclocking. Under 99% of the scenarios, that's the one you want to use. Right, so the next crucial test, before we actually go too far with all of this, is, does that memory module that I just took the heat spreader off, does it actually work? And that to me is always the most nerve-wracking part of this whole exercise, because yeah, because money. It's the best way to describe it, I suppose. Shit's expensive. Stuff's expensive, excuse my language, sorry. Alright, so we've taken each of those stickers off, we've identified which is which. I haven't spent the time yet and identified which is my strong memory module, which is my weak memory module. I've been too busy trying to resolve other issues. Right, so we've got 70.1 and 70.2. 70.2 is the one that we've just stripped now. The module is back down to room temperature naturally, so I can just stick that into this test machine I've got next to us here. And switch it on, and hopefully we train and we're happy. So this test bench is just running a Seasonic Prime 760 watts with a Maximus 9 Apex. So this is the one I've been doing my 32M testing on. And I'm not overly confident with that, the way it's going at the moment. But anyway, so the memory does look like it's posting, and it does look like it's training, so happy days. I've got 2 modules that have been stripped and that are working. So yeah, given the RAM prices now, I really want to sell some off. The problem is, in South Africa, there is not a second-hand market for high-end memory modules. So if I was going to be selling those memory modules off, I'd be selling them off at sort of like a 2400 or maybe even 3200 prices. I just can't bring myself to doing that. But yeah, it would probably help me paying for the nitrogen and the hardware costs for this event, because it is extreme. Alright, so that one there is now working into Windows. I just want to shut that Windows 32 down properly, and then we can continue on. Silicon Power, I don't know if I'm familiar with that brand. Or is it a retail outlet or a store? I'll have to check that out, give it a Google when I got a moment. Alright, so that's all fine and working. And guys, when you're working with this stuff, please don't forget to discharge, static discharge. Please don't forget to sort that out before you do too much. It is quite important. Okay, so a link has been dropped for all of those that are interested in the Silicon Power bare DDR4 memory. And I just clicked on it. Let's just have a quick squiz at what it's about. Alright, so it looks like it's a similar PCB layout to the Galax memory. What I noticed was from the picture that they are missing they're missing a few components above the memory modules. So the Galax memory has got 2 components above the modules, which that one doesn't have. But when I look at the Apacer, it's identical to the Apacer layout. So I think it might be A1 PCB layout, not A2 PCB layout. Guaranteed quality, XMP memory, specifications. So CAS latency 4133 at C19. So it's about medium bin. I wish they wouldn't call it X Power. It's just like such a ripoff of MSI. But yeah, who really cares about that, right? Okay, so back to what I'm busy with. I don't want to blow too much time. Okay, so let's put that camera back on. Okay, so what we've done now is prep the memory. What I want to do again is protect the gold fingers, because I am a Vaseline. I do prefer Vaseline. In fact, you know what? I don't prepare the memory modules with Vaseline anymore. the last couple of times I haven't done that. If I remember correctly, let's just have a look at what I did at GOC. I don't put Vaseline on memory modules anymore, because there was a stage where people reported that should liquid get underneath those memory modules, they would actually stop working. And yeah, this looks like a virgin module, but okay, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do. I haven't done it. I have done it. I don't want to do it. I do want to do it. Okay, let's not do it. I see on this one here, this is a module that I used for the qualifiers last year. I'm looking here, there's definitely no Vaseline, so I'm not going to Vaseline these up. So it's a real simple, yes, it's been that long since I've overclocked memory modules, I've forgotten what I've done. Anyway, so I'm not going to put Vaseline on. It's a real simple then process to finalize this thing. Quick question, Nick again has asked a question: how much does liquid nitrogen cost in South Africa? Right, so at the moment we're paying about 30 Rand a kg, and if you're looking to buy it in small quantities, the only supplier here in South Africa where you can get it, in Johannesburg at least, is Afrox Cryospeed. Then if you're looking to buy it in bulk quantities in a high pressure container, then you can go to Air Liquid or to what's that other stupid green company, what they're called, Air Products. Right, so those are the only three places where you can buy it, and unfortunately their pricing is not very competitive for the hobbyist, because they want you to buy volume, and really you can't use that much volume if you're a single overclocker. Alright, so straightforward. All I'm going to use is Cryonaut, Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut. I'll put a dollop onto each RC, and then we just slap on the modules. Now what I could also use, instead of using Cryonaut, is we could also use the Thermal Grizzly thermal pads, and the local supplier for Thermal Grizzly did just get some new stock in of the 20mm by 100mm by 0.5 thickness. Just having a look here which ones I've got with me. I've got the 1070, I've got 1mm. Okay, so that's going to be too thick. So you could also use the thermal pads and then just put a thermal pad. I think if I remember correctly, the Galax GPU pots also, memory pots also came with thermal pads, so you could also just put a thermal pad on top of that. And I do actually have one here. Let's have a look at those and give that a try. There we go. Yeah, so if you just transition this across, so there's just some thermal pads that came in with the memory pots that we got given at the GOC finals last year and the year before. So we could actually just try one of those. I'll give it a try. At the end of the day, it also comes down to, if you make it to the finals, the technique you use at home needs to equal the technique that you would use during the event. So if you're using thermal pads at home for your preparation and it's quick and easy and it works, then I suggest you use thermal pads for the event, right? The same thing goes for if you're using copper containers at home. You should be using copper for the event. Now I break that rule because I use copper at home, but when we get to the event, I just tore. When you get to the event, then I use aluminium. Now there's two reasons why I break my own rule on that. One, because the finals I can't take the finals seriously. I go to the finals to try my best and to have fun. And then two is, from past experience, when we get to the finals, things don't work the same way that they work at home, as far as RCs and video cards. And before I even get a chance to start debugging the memory, I'm fighting with processor or I'm fighting with video card, and you know, I've given up worrying about thermal efficiency of the memory heat spreader. It's just as I can just monitor the temperature of the memory sticks is all that's important. Plus the fact that they don't actually give you spreaders, and I think it's a good thing to have some sort of heat spreader on. So the aluminium for me is fine. Okay, so let's get the tweezers, might be a little bit easier. Yeah, look, BDAR's been around for a long time. When I started my preparation work for this qualifier, I finally decided to give those BDARs a try from the finals last year, and geez, they're actually not bad. I think I could have done some pretty good scores with them, and I think I might need to actually revisit them. The problem being is I think we might be coming to the end of BDARs, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, months. Maybe they'll still be fine for this platform, I suppose. Maybe next platform we'll be hitting the newer technologies. So yeah, I just struggle to waste time now in the OC lab with the business not doing terribly well. Right, so what I was struggling with there was just to get the stupid plastic off the spreader. So let me explain, let me maybe just give some background why I'm deviating from my normal here. Is when I was talking to you about the memory, right? I remembered that for a stage there were problems with Vaseline getting behind the BDARs and causing problems, and that made me now decide, well, let's now try the thermal pad rather than using the thermal grizzly, because maybe thermal grizzly gets behind and you have the same sort of issue. Not that I think it is a problem, but I also don't think the thermal conductivity is such a big issue with this revision or this BDAR memory. So I need to be able to control the temperature, and I need to be able to monitor the temperature, and that I can do with a thermal pad. I can guarantee you that if the first sign I have of things not going right with this memory, I will be opening it up again and I will be putting Cryonaut on. So this is just like a little test for me again. I'm full of tests while there's still 16 days to go. We'll start talking different stories again when there's like 8 days to go. Which brings me to another subject. There's 16 days to go and I still don't have a solid score on any benchmark, which is really worrying. Then again, I can't afford to buy another video card, so if the video card is not up to scratch, then it's just tough titties, as I like to say. Right, so what I've done is we've used that Galax thermal pad, and it's making nice contact on each RC. I've used the blue paper towel at the back, right, just to make sure that there is contact, because these heat spreaders were designed for dual-sided memory, so you are missing RCs on the back so that they don't fit too nicely. So I've just used blue towel for that, and that is that. So that's one memory module good to go. We'll stick it in here and we'll give it a test. We'll just unplug. So I'm going to start doing 3D scores pretty soon, because I plan on getting 3D scores all out of the way before I go cold on the memory, because the 3D scores are not memory dependent. It should be fine. The reason for that is if you happen to kill a memory module while pushing it, then you've at least got your 3D scores in and done already, and you can then worry about memory modules after that. Right, so what point was I trying to make with that? I will be streaming that as well over the coming days. Again, my schedule is not going to be fixed. It's going to be as and when I get time. I'm going to gooi a stream in quickly, and it's going to be very segmented, I think. So, and also I won't be doing all of my benching on the stream, because it's also important that my competitors, or the competitors, don't know every single detail of my preparation or of my scores and stuff like that. So unfortunately, guys, I have to keep some of it secret, or not secret, just hidden from the public until after the qualifiers. What I am planning on doing though is recording it all, so I can then upload it after the event is finished. And I think that might be a good idea. Then again, if I upload it before the finals, then everybody's going to know any tips and tricks. So it's a real delicate situation between sharing the information online or broadcasting it and keeping a competitive edge. It really is. Then again, I'm not taking the finals terribly seriously, so maybe it's a good idea to publish everything. So right, that's that one done. Let's get up again. Yeah, so okay, that's not very promising. So the memory module that we just put together is showing a 2B error. I know why, because I plugged it into the first slot, the bad slot, and if I'm not mistaken, I've got quite a tight profile set on this board at the moment. So if I plug it in there, let me just give it another test. That would just suck if I've killed the memory module already. I don't think so, but it would just suck. Right, I haven't. It's booting on that second slot. Okay. So this thermal pad is a bit retarded. I must be honest, it doesn't have type of stickiness or feel I'd expect from a thermal pad. It's quite dry. Maybe it's old. I think it could also be just old. I'll pick up some thermal grizzly pads when I go out tomorrow to see a customer, and we can give those a try as well. Did I see DeBauer use liquid helium for 990K? No, I did not see it, unfortunately. But yeah, I think at the launch of every single chipset, ASUS do a little secret OC event. I was lucky enough to attend one of those about 3 years ago. But yeah, I haven't cracked the nut to get back again since that one that I was invited to. But yeah, it's quite something special to see that. I have seen it being done, but I didn't see it on the 990K. I was there for the 6700K was when I was in Taiwan for the launch at ASUS HQ, and it's quite a special event that I wouldn't mind going again. But unfortunately, I think you really need to be an active overclocker and be in the scores and be, people need to see what's going on in order to get an invite to that event. And my own worst enemy, I have not been active over the last 2 years. I have not been as active as I should be. And unfortunately, everybody will realize eventually life does get difficult sometimes. But I'm still here and I'm still around, and I'll still do what I can, right? Yeah, it really is a special event. Great people, really great people there at ASUS HQ. I've got nothing but good things to say about all of them. Yeah, let's just leave it there. Okay, so that's the second memory module now, prepped and ready to rock and roll. So the thing to just bear in mind and just to remember here is condensation. So like with everything when overclocking, Ice doesn't hurt it, it's the water that does. So when condensation starts forming or when there's droplets, you need to really just be careful. I have not put Vaseline on these, and I haven't done it in previous years. I do remember now. It is quite safe, but when you run your memory, right? So you don't dilly-daddle 10 degrees, minus 10 degrees, 10 degrees, minus 10 degrees. Don't diddle-daddle like that with memory if you haven't put Vaseline or something onto it, because you will start getting condensation going. So if you are using my method of installation now, so when you're not using Vaseline or anything to that effect, really you're going down minus 20 degrees, you never get hotter than minus 20 degrees, and that will prevent that condensation and you won't get any damage. There again, don't hold the gun to my head. If you damage your memory chips using my method, you do it at your own risk. And I'm just telling you from my personal experience, that's what I do. So good luck if you plan on doing this. I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun. And don't be scared. So let's plug the second one in now. I'm going to remove the first one because I know for a fact that the profile I've got loaded up here is not going to boot in that A1. So we're going to test the second one now just by using the same slot. And there we go. Yeah, George, no, that's exactly the reason why. So, along with those SF3D copper heat sinks that I use, okay, so this one's now not training, it said 49. So it's quite possibly that I've now, just by doing this test, I've identified my weak and my strong modules, right? And what we'll do first is we'll just clean the contacts because it's not booting, and we'll try again. If it still doesn't boot, then I'm going to go ahead and say that that's probably my weaker DIMM. I really need to get HDMI onto that for when I do streams like this across two benches. So there is a technical challenge as well to me broadcasting my 3D benching, and maybe this is a good thing, because then I can actually bench more without worrying too much, because you won't be able to see the actual screen. Is that the HDMI out doesn't seem to be working with the extreme bias. So I need to look for a display port to HDMI converter. I thought I had one, but I couldn't find it when I looked the other day. If I can't find that, then I won't be able to actually show you any 3D benchmarks, because HDMI out is how I then split my stream so that you guys can see it and I can see it. Yeah. Code 49 makes me want to bash my head against the wall. You know what? It's actually 2B that makes me want to do that. 55 and 49, I can sort that out. 9 times out of 10, I'm not terribly upset when I see 49 and 55. So when I see 2B, I want to bloody cry and hit the wall, because yeah, it annoys me. It annoys me is the polite way of saying that makes me want to quit overclocking. Especially when you know that the memory module can do that speed, but then it just fails to do it. Right, so what have we got? We've got 49 again. So I'm going to go into safe mode, and I will go back to 100 base clock. Or actually I'll go to 97 base clock, and then we'll see if it trains. So I wonder I can't get HDMI all the way over here, unfortunately. So George, I wonder if you haven't fallen victim to over tightening. That OC formula is the Z170. Now the Z170s, or especially the bloody impacts, right, were terrible at bending the actual socket. I don't know, maybe the one I've got here, I can maybe give you an indication. Yeah, so let's just have a quick look here. This looks like an OC damaged one. Lots of Vaseline all over it still. No, that socket's fine. What I can show you on here basically, so the Z170, when you over tightened the socket in this sort of area, bent a bit and you actually caused an indentation. Maybe check to see if you can't see the pins at different heights on your OC formula. That might give you that might be the cause of your issues. Maybe it's some of the pins in that sort of area have like sort of indented or indented a bit. And I try to fix it by lifting the pins up a bit, but I never ever got the alignment quite right. Okay, so this memory stick now boots, but it is one whole base clock less than the other memory stick. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this memory stick as being my favorite so far. Under cold it might be a little different, of course, but it's always a good time to start marking these things. Right, and the funny thing is I've actually got written on this module over here, best. So this copper heatsink was used previously also with what I like to call best. Alright, and then typically what I'll do is now when pushing maximum I'll play around with the best and the worst module in each position, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and shut that off. And we can shut that off. So that in total sums up what I wanted to get done today. The memory pot that I'll be using is the SF3D EK Web SF3D. This one here, though, I've had a custom made brass sort of top made for it. This was the plastic one originally, and well, that's shattered with a heat gun, so I've got a brass one that's been made for the top of it. It works very nicely because it's quite efficient with LN2 because of the brass. It works quite well. Alright, so I think that's about it. What I need to do next is get that memory tested now with temperature. No. I need to set up my profile for 3D benchmarks. So that means I need to finish all this mess here, get it tidied up, get the Maximus 10 back onto this bench because that's what I'll be using for my 3D benchmarks. Get my memory profiles, my CPU profiles configured and set up, get the card prepped with the pot, and start pushing out some scores. I think that's it. Okay, so that's all for today, guys. Any questions? Is there anything you'd like me to go over again while you've got me and my undivided attention? Now would be the time to ask. Right, so what we got here? We got, it looks like, I'll have a look-see, but it has a problem since the whole, oh jeez, plastic dip in the socket incident. That's nasty. For GOC 2014 on the Maximus Genie, I had a plastic dip incident. So to put it politely, I bought a brand new Genie in preparation for the finals. I got the thing home, taped everything off and prepped it all, got my plastic dip, applied the plastic dip, and the moment from the first time I tested it after the plastic dip, nothing worked properly. The DIMMs were flaky, the memory overclocking was shot. Every now and again the board would just be dead. And what had actually happened is the plastic dip had gone into some of the components and actually seeped up. So for instance, like the bias chip was one of them. Plastic dip somehow from the bottom soaked up, and it caused problems, and that board just never worked properly. So that was my first and last time I was going to use plastic dip for a live event. Now Vaseline, smother the stuff on, your board works long enough for the event or for even benching in the OC lab, and when you want to return it for RMA, throw it in the dishwasher, Bob's your uncle, things are clean and away you go. You know, and that's just my personal plastic dip. There's no solvent for it, there's no easy way to get it off. You try and peel it off and then it breaks, and then there's always bits of it. It's just messy and nasty. I really don't like it, but hats off to anybody that uses it, really. So no question, just hope you get top 5 at GOC. Well, yeah, I just hope I get to top 12. But thanks for the well wishes, yeah. So we got some more, George. Yeah, well, yeah. Look, you gotta pay your school fees, and I think you paid for them horribly. So I haven't seen any OC formulas in this country anyway for sale. It was never imported into here. So if you can get, I mean, honestly, it looks like it's the right board to be using at the moment. Splave Alan is still doing great scores with the board, and you can get your hands on it and you're still doing a bit of overclocking on the older generations, I'd recommend getting yourself a second one. But then again, it's money at the end of the day, right? It is money. So, what else can we talk about? What else is going on? So, let's check Facebook, and no questions on Facebook. Geez, we've been live for 52 minutes already, so it's a good time to wrap up, right? So right, let's have a look. We've had 0 drop frames for the streaming session. We've been uploading at an average speed of 269.8 kilobytes per second, and the cameras are switched off once again. Here we go. And the CPU consumption of this machine is 6.1%. So all in all, it looks like the stream PC is pretty much sorted out. Everything's working nicely. For those of you who are new to my stream, I do upload to a server, a local server here in South Africa, which I then use to split to Facebook, to YouTube, and to Twitch all at the same time. So if you're wanting to jump in on the conversation, jump onto Twitch. It's where it's the easiest to monitor and to interact. The other nice thing about the chat on Twitch, it is then also on the stream, so you do get a record of the questions asked and of the answers. Other than that, guys, the second ASUS ROG Masterclass is happening. It's happening on the 23rd of November. It's a couple of weeks away. Different thing this year, or this time around, is that I'm able to give one of those entrants or one of the seats away to one of my fans. So if you are keen in joining the masterclass, get onto my Facebook page. There is information there about how you can enter the competition. It is one of those horrible click like, do this, do that type of competitions, but unfortunately we need to be able to give information back to our sponsors so we can then push to do it again next year. So please do me a favor, go ahead and try and enter or give us an entry into that competition. Give us a support, and hopefully we'll see you then on the 23rd of November. We've got another question here from MPTNC. What about DDR4 Hynix CJR DA? Right, so sure. DDR4 Hynix CJR DA, I haven't personally used it unless it was the Kingston memory. It was Hynix chipset. Let me see if I can find it. I think I've still got some Kingston memory here. Right, so the last set of Kingston memory that I tested was SK Hynix AFR. No, so personally I haven't tested it for overclocking the SK Hynix chips or the Hynix chips typically won't go as high in megahertz as the Samsung B dials will go, and they certainly won't go as low in latency. So for extreme overclocking, not what we would typically use, but maybe for your everyday 24/7 rig running at 3200, something like that might be alright. But there again, I'd say why buy expensive RGB memories that run at 2666 when you can get a set of like 3600s, for instance, with a CL16 latency that you can tighten all the way down to 14. You know, it's semantics, it's different strokes for different folks, but yeah, that's my take on that. So guys, I'm going to go wrap this up. I've got a crying baby outside. Let me go and sort that out, and then I will be live again in the next day or two, another stream. Hopefully that in the next stream I'm going to have my profiles all set up, my memory set up, processors are going to be 6G, and video cards going to be locked and loaded, and we'll get some benchmarks, some live benchmark going. I need to resolve the DisplayPort to HDMI issue so that I can actually stream the video, and once I've got that sorted, then we're good to go. But anyway guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate the interactive, the questions, and talking to you guys and being interactive. I hate talking to myself, and we'll see you again next time. Until then, happy benching. Cheers for now.